Hold up.
Bray Wyatt was a novelty. For once, a supernatural gimmick was a class apart, and not in the shadow of The Undertaker. The metamorphosis of the Husky Harris, a battle tank with a Ferrari engine, to a cult leader was one of the best character shifts in recent memory, and to demonstrate just how through Bray Wyatt was in his gimmick. He once implied that he had possessed Husky Harris in a tweet when a fan asked about his bizarre turn. That shows his dedication to his shtick, but unfortunately, the career of Bray Wyatt is now considered a complete failure. Initially, everything was peachy. Wyatt had a certain aura, and for an outlandish gimmick, he spoke with conviction. The company did a decent job hyping up his appearance, and within months, Wyatt held victories over the likes of Kane, CM Punk, and Daniel Bryan, the same Daniel Bryan who was red hot and later headlined WrestleMania, but more importantly, the crowd was rooting for him all the way through. Then, Wyatt ran into Superman, as in John Cena. Even in 2013, Cena just had to overcome the odds, and the leader of Cenation did so, defeating Wyatt 2-1 across 3 different PPV matches. The results were abhorrent and overshadowed, quite a stellar build-up as Wyatt literally haunted Cena throughout the rivalry, pushing the former world champion to the brink. However, just 1 year later, John Cena buried the ever-loving crap out of Bray Wyatt and his lackeys during a random match on Raw. John Cena was preparing for a rematch against Brock Lesnar, and in order to build up a 15-time world champion, WWE booked Cena to dominate the whole Wyatt family. In a span of a year, Bray Wyatt went from giving Cena all he could handle to jobbing to him in mere minutes. This served as a nail in the coffin, and the career of Bray Wyatt was forever tainted. Wyatt hung around the upper mid-card for the next few years, feuding with the likes of Randy Orton, Matt Hardy, and Roman Reigns, but the aura was just badly damaged from the prior encounter with Super Cena. Many fans had begun to write him off, and the company did Wyatt no favors, booking him to lose when it mattered the most. Wyatt took a hiatus from wrestling in 2018, and some wondered if the Eater of Worlds was about to hang his hat, as his ceiling in the company was not too high. Wyatt eventually returned as the Fiend, and suddenly, the hype was back and soaring to even greater heights than before. Wyatt as a cult leader was spooky, but the Fiend was just downright terrifying. He was even more indestructible than The Undertaker, but as we all know, even this resurgence did not last, and today, Wyatt, despite all his talents, is not even a part of the company. After a dreadful match with Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell, the Fiend drifted from one feud to another, and after a confusing alliance with Alexa Bliss, Wyatt was released from the company, due to budget cuts, and that was it for his tenure with WWE. Throughout this partnership, Wyatt consistently shattered barriers and surpassed expectations, despite one blunder after another on part of Vince McMahon. The meaningful feud he had was with John Cena, and despite losing to him 2-1, Wyatt rebounded and kept himself relevant. Due to the age of social media, some fans did not take Wyatt too seriously, but the Fiend was another matter. The company botched Bray Wyatt every step of the way. WWE just did not see Wyatt as a top-level guy. Bray served as a jobber to Cena in order to build him up for the Lesnar rematch at Night of Champions. Bray Wyatt as the world champion served as a foil to give Randy Orton another world title reign. And the Fiend, well, we all know why he was champion. Roman Reigns was to start his own reign of terror on SmackDown, and the demonic Fiend was the perfect starting point. In all these instances, Wyatt was seen as a filler character, largely irrelevant to the more important happenings in the company. This is where the company let down Bray Wyatt, as each time he lost to the aforementioned superstars, the heat was transferred over, and Wyatt was back to square one. Bray Wyatt was always booked as a transitional foil. Wyatt had all the talent in the world, and he demonstrated his ability, both on the mic and even in the ring, but for some insane reason, despite having a very credible monster heel staring right at him, McMahon just did not pull the trigger.